One, wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Oops, I'm here. Can you hear me? I always forget to take that down. Dang it. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hairyman Hijinks in the morning. Good to see you all here. I hope you have your hot Java. It's going to be a good day, good weekend. Got a party to go to, so it's going to be a good weekend for sure. Looks like we've got our usual suspects in the chat. I'm just waiting for Enzo to show up. But he should be here shortly. I'm sure he'll be here. Yeah, he's coming, but I'm not sure if I should let him in. Should I let him in? I don't know.
Open the door. Open the door. Open the door.
I think he wants in. We'll let him in and we'll give him his music. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you this morning?
Doing quite well. I've got a fresh haircut and I am ready to go.
Looking spiffy, looking clean. Lowered those earlobes a little bit. Yeah. That's what my dad used to say. He lowered his ears. Yeah.
My hair doesn't really get long. It just gets shaggy. It's just kind of like this bush on my head.
Like a poof. A little poof. Well, it looks good. Looks sharp. That's my favorite, one of my favorite shirts you have.
Oh, you like this one?
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, it was next up in the rotation for this week. So.
Oh, we got almost the same blues, almost matchy.
Almost.
Almost.
Actually, I was looking at since next week is St. Patrick's Day. I was looking to see if there was something like this, like with a St. Patrick's thing. And on Amazon, one of the first things that popped up was a T-shirt with a green, the patty silhouette with a big clover in it. I was like, ah.
Yeah, I have a shirt for Sunday, but I don't want to spoil it and use it today because my St. Patty's Day show is going to be this Sunday, because then the following Sunday it'll already be over, So I had to kind of push it to this Sunday, but it's going to be fun. That show I'm finding amazingly a lot of stuff to talk about. It might go fast, it might go slow. I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens with that. It's kind of hard to predict what's going to happen. But the show's coming along good. I worked on it all day yesterday, and I'll end up working on it today because I kind of like it to be done by Friday night so that Saturday I'm not stressed, because if I'm not, in Saturday I'm sitting trying to feverishly get things, settled, or get my brain learn whatever I'm going to talk about. So yeah, I'll probably end up working on it today and see if I can finish it up.
She'll still be stressed right up to the minute she goes live.
Yeah, I will. I will. I do every time. It just that's just me, Did I get that? Did I learn this? Oh, I wanted to do that. There's always more stuff. There comes a point where I have to stay enough.
Yes. You have to draw that line.
I do, because I will take myself into that rabbit hole. And I've told you guys this before, but really, I do. I get way too much information, and
it's easy to do.
2
Especially
hours.
For these kind of topics. It was a little over a year ago. I used to do segments on a different show, and we were like, okay, you're going to have, and this happened like almost every week. It's like, okay, you're going to have the full second hour. It's going to be everything. It's like, great. I'll have like a full hour. And then right before we go live, it's like, yeah, we're going to have another person join us on the panel. So can you cut yours down to about 30 minutes? No.
Oh man. Dang. Yeah, no, that couldn't happen because of how I time my shows out, and I've talked to you before about this, Enzo. I have a whole system, that so I can fit in all my segments. It's got to be timed out. So sometimes it does seem like I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, but really it's orchestrated seat of the pants. So
you're a seasoned YouTuber now. You just flip the camera on and just go.
Just go. Well, that's what I did on Wednesday. You weren't around you didn't see the show I did on Wednesday night.
Sorry. Wednesday is my run around, get stuff done day.
It was just a late night show that I threw up there. I thought we would end up, doing trivia or something like that. I had no plan, and it ended up where we just started listening to music. It kind of like what JoJo did on his one stream. And I knew that stream wouldn't get published. Okay, I was well aware that I was going to be copyrighted.
Right.
And but that was okay. I thought, well, we'll just take the stream as far as I can go before I get cut off from YouTube, because I know some people have gotten their whole streams just taken down for stuff.
Yep.
And no, 3 hours, dude, of playing music, and I almost played the entire songs from everything that I was requests. The last time I checked, there was like 50 copyrights right now on my channel. But all of them on the side said no impact. No impact.
Well, so, you're not monetized though, right?
That's right. I'm not monetized, so it doesn't affect me, and I'm not publishing it. And I'll probably just completely delete it.
For the future though, you may want to watch that, because when you do get monetized, how quickly
Well,
you get monetized is depending on what your history looks like. If you've got
right,
a
right.
ton of
Well,
copyright
it's going to be deleted, so it's not even
yeah,
going to be.
that's cool.
It won't be around. And I knew that, so it's going to be one of those things where you're either there and you see it or you're not going to see it. So, but we had fun. I had a good, 15 people maybe in the chat giving their requests. Just went down the line, man. I'll have to get a bigger paper next time though, because I kept flipping back and forth, but it was fun, man. But really took me back in time. It's just amazing how, if you're a music person, you're a music person.
Right.
I know you're not that big of a music person, but dang, it took me back to all kinds of places.
I like music. I just don't have like that encyclopedic recall like a lot of other people do for different bands and members of the band and what years they came. Like, nah, it's just sounds to me.
And I'm horrible at names, but I remember the sound, the songs, and they had an impact in me, because that was where my good place to go was with music always. So, yeah, you think that, but I got 110 copy strikes in 4 minutes. Oh shit.
110.
Wow. That's a lot, dude.
Usually, like for music, it's not as bad, but if it's something like associated like with a movie or a TV show, if you're showing like video,
right,
and different people, like anything from like Universal or anything like that, it's almost immediate. Disney, on the other hand, they kind of let it slide a little, as long as you're not like showing entire movies and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's gonna fix. It's not gonna fix. Why am I fuzzy? Boom. Did it fix? No. I'm fuzzy. I don't like to see me when I'm fuzzy. God dang it. I keep forgetting. Is there like a setting I can go to make this not so?
Yeah. There you go. You're good. Once you have it like focused in like it is right now, you can go into your camera settings and turn off the autofocus so it just stays right there.
Okay, that's what I need to do. I need to do that so that. So who do we got in the chat? There's Jojo Bones in the house.
Oh, Danny says Warner Brothers is who came out, and they're bad too. they will strike you down.
Yes, they will. Sandra, good morning, Uncle Bones. Welcome. Sandra, Piper, B. Lynn, Robert. See it, Robert. Good morning, HHH chat crew. Snowing and cold in Michigan. Holy cow, it's blue sky, 70 degrees here. Beautiful. It is a beautiful day here.
It's been cloudy and raining here for like 3 days.
Really? Yesterday it was cloudy, but it just kind of came and went. Brian and Chewy, good morning. Hey, I saw your interview with Encrypted. It was really good. It was good. Loved it.
Yep.
Loved it, Brian. Amazing story. Scary. Now I don't know if I want to go to Mount St. Helens. I'm like, yikes. I got to stop listening to the stories. Of course, we saw Danny. And Grasshopper is in the house. Sharon. Good to see you. Good to see you. B-Lynn. I said B-Lynn. Didn't I say B-Lynn? Well, B-Lynn's always here. She's always around. Good morning, dear. So welcome, everybody. If I missed you, I apologize. Rub it in, Nikki. What do you mean? Because I'm going to go to St. Helens. I got my tickets in the hand, people. Tickets in the hand. It is happening. I am going. I'm going to be there. Put into a wait.
Very nice.
Safe place. putting it in a safe, sort of a safe place. Okay. So I can't wait. I can't wait. Now it's the planning stages of stuff I'm going to take. But what do you want to talk about? So this morning, oh, I got to take him off of there. Hard. Mind-blowing facts about planet Earth we did not learn in school. And I was saying useless facts about the Earth that you do or do not want to know. I mean,
Your
some of
mind
them
wasn't
are,
blown by these. Okay.
yeah, some of them are really cool, and some of them are like, oh, okay, whatever. But still interesting topics. I mean, um, like this first one here, it says that there are more people living in Southeast Asia than outside of it.
Yep.
And I believe that. I do believe that. I mean, look at India. It's just packed and like um, Beijing. Oh my God, I've never seen so many
Yeah.
people.
They are packed in there, aren't they?
Yeah, you think LA in their freeway system is
Close.
messed up? Holy cow. It was like 10 lanes on each side in Beijing when we went. And they have so many people there that, according to their driver's plates, their license plates, whatever the last number, or is it the first number? I can't remember now. But that's attributes to the day they are allowed to drive. Did you know that?
The day they're allowed to drive, or really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Now, this was back in 2011 when we went, 2011, 2012. So I don't know if things have changed, but the actual bus, our bus driver slash he had an assistant. The bus driver's assistant was telling us this. Not really tour guide, not really a tour guide, just his assistant, because there was a lot of us. And when we were touring, that's what they were saying. Yeah, today is this day. You know, you can only be be on the road if you have this plate. Or I didn't quite understand his broken English, if he meant that they have like, sometimes you can drive Monday, Wednesday, sometimes you can drive Tuesday, Thursday, sometime. I think that's what he was trying to convey, but it was hard to understand him. But
Honestly,
still,
that makes sense because, man, they're packed in there.
mm-hmm. And there were specific lanes that were just for buses, just for trucks, just for cars too. That was something else too.
And they're all full.
All of them. And you think, when we first got onto that freeway from the airport, I was like, oh, we're never getting to the hotel. It's gonna be late. But dang, it moves. It wasn't like LA, you get into a traffic jam and you can be there for half an hour, 45 minutes stuck in traffic. Just inch, and then you're stopped for like 5-10 minutes, and then inch. And that's not how it was there. It was packed, but it was a crawl, slow move, and it was still moving. So, we still got to where we needed to go within an hour. And so it was interesting, though.
Wow.
Oh, I can't.
Because, I mean, it's not, and they're all packed in there like that because if you look at the geography of those areas, the geology even, the whole like northwestern part of that circle is heavy mountains where they can't live in those areas so much. So
Right.
it's all along all the coasts and stuff like that. They're just packed in there.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely higher population areas just around, the edges is where you find a lot.
Yep.
So, but there it is. I believe this. I believe it. So, what does it say here? With 4.6 billion inhabitants, Asia is the most populous continent. Yeah, that's a lot. You can fit every planet in the solar system between the moon and the Earth.
Yep, that's correct.
That's kind of crazy, though.
Well, the average distance between the Earth and the moon is about 239,000-ish miles.
Uh-huh.
And that's pretty far away. So you start stacking planets in there, especially Jupiter and Saturn, the two biggest. They take up a lot of room.
Right. That's just a crazy picture. But I like it. But it is a crazy picture. For sure. Is that an ad? I think that's an ad. Yeah. I know ad blocker. Ad blocker. Okay. If other planets were the same distance from Earth as the moon. So that's, I guess, what it would look like.
Yes.
If they were actually right there. That Saturn picture would like be freaky.
Can you imagine that? Because it moves around just like how the sun or the moon rises and falls, stuff like that. So having a Saturn rise is coming up. This takes up this giant chunk of the sky. Like, what?
Yeah, even Saturn. I think Saturn's so pretty. Even though it's all gas, isn't it? Is it all gaseous? What's
There's for all of the outer planets are mostly gas. There's probably a central rocky core, like deep in the middle of it, probably. But for the most part, it's mostly gases.
Oh, the U.S. is so large it could fit 30 European countries. Wow, look at that.
That's something a lot of folks in Europe, actually just everywhere outside of the U.S., they don't realize how vast the U.S. is and giant chunks of it that nobody lives in. When I was in Iraq in 2007 working with those guys, there was a couple of guys that were actually getting mad at me because they were convinced that, I lived in the U.S. I must know like big TV and movie stars that like they live just down the street because there's so many of them and all that stuff. They just assumed everything is like the size of one of our single states. And surely you must know some, you have a neighbor that's been on TV or something.
Yeah.
Like, no, not really. Country's kind of big.
Well, I've always wanted to go to Europe and do all those countries, that they say you can do in like a week to go just do all of them. I think that's really, really cool. Hey, hold the fort for a second. I have to go sign for something at the door.
Oh,
I don't know.
Surprise package.
Maybe I got a surprise for my birthday, maybe. Ooh. Okay, hold on.
Very cool. So yeah, when you travel around to Europe and throughout the Middle East and places like that, their country, if you live there, if you've been brought up there, you just assume everything is like where you're at everywhere. And you go that the U.S. is so vast, in comparison to a lot of these other countries that, we actually have different accents for different parts of the U.S. and things like that. It's not just an American accent. And it's confusing for some people because that's not what you're used to. Kind of strange sometimes to try and convince someone who's like, no, it takes a long time to travel across the U.S. It'd take you 12 hours just to get across Texas. But yeah, it's a learning experience on both sides because the opposite is true. Because I know I've got friends that live in other countries. They're like, oh, I don't want to go all the way over there. It's like, that's like a 2-hour car ride. Just go. For us in the U.S., we think nothing of hopping in the car and driving 12 hours to go check out something that you want to see. but it's just outside, just different people living different lives and just different ideas of things like that. It's kind of funny sometimes. So what do we think, gang? What's Nikki getting in the mail that she has to go sign?
It wasn't even for me, dang it.
What?
It wasn't for me. I don't know what it is. It's very small though. So my husband probably ordered something for one of his guns or something.
There's nothing wrong with that. Don't make you a bad person.
Dang it. I already got my present. My present was my airplane tickets. So
I'll bet.
So I'm all good. Okay. So you probably discussed this all.
Yep, we've kind of beaten this one to death, I think.
Okay, let's move on. Australia is wider than Pluto. So is Pluto still not? They took it out, right? It's not part of.
Yeah, it's not considered the ninth planet like it was like when I was in school. Mostly the argument, I kind of get the argument, but the argument is that if you're going to include Pluto, there's about at least a dozen similar sized objects that are also out there like that you'd have to call them a planet then.
Oh, was that why?
Because we have asteroids in our own asteroid belt that's between Mars and Jupiter that are bigger than Pluto is.
Oh. Okay. I believe they saw Pluto at the Lowell Observatory there in Flagstaff. Is where they discovered first saw it. So we were all proud, being from Flagstaff, that had happened, and I'm sure they were all disappointed when it got taken out.
Yeah, it's I'll have to admit there's part of me because, of course, much like what we were talking about earlier with other countries, what you're used to, the way you learn how the world works from your perspective is everyone was taught for generations that we have 9 planets in our solar system. That last one way out there is Pluto. I guess technically, mathematically, there's probably another similar planet outside of that that the math says is out there, but it's such a vast area that unless it's gigantic like any of the big gas giants in the outer part of the solar system, we haven't seen it yet.
That's all really interesting. I think that would have been interesting being an astronomer. Okay, what's next? Oops. Why did it go back to the beginning?
Oh, jeez.
I don't know. I just work here. Okay. Venezuela's Catatumbo River experiences almost constant lightning.
Wow, look at that. That's like
that's
end of days picture. It has to be a time lapse.
Yeah. But still, it is an amazing photo. Like
so
that's a major storm.
You see stuff like that. It's like, so do they just get like schools of fish that are just instantly fried and just wash up on the beach all the
time? Oh, boiled fish every day.
Yeah.
There probably is no fish anymore.
Yeah. Don't swim down there. You'll get electrocuted.
I should have pulled up information about this place. Pull it up real quick. What is it? Catatumbo River Experience.
You want me to look that up or you want to look it up?
Yeah, you look it up. You're faster. crazy. Crazy.
Let's see. Catatumbo lightning is an atmospheric phenomenon that occurs over the mouth of the Catatumbo River, where it empties into Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela. Catatumbo means house of thunder in the language of the Bari people.
Oh, wow.
It originates from a mass of storm clouds at an altitude of more than 1 kilometer and occurs for 140 to 160 nights a year, 9 hours per day, and with lightning flashes from 16 to 40 times per minute.
Dang.
You're like living inside a plasma ball.
That's really interesting. I had never heard of it before, though. Ever.
I haven't either. The phenomenon sees the highest density of lightning in the world at 250 lightning strikes, I guess, per square kilometer.
Dang.
The lightning changes its flash frequency throughout the year and is different from year to year. For example, it ceased from January to March 2010, apparently due to a drought, leading to speculation that it might have been extinguished permanently, but it came right back the following year when they got more rain.
Oh. Well, that's really interesting. Huh. Yep.
Didn't know that.
Okay, so that one's a good one. That's a good one. That was really interesting. So, gravity.
One last thing: the lightning produces a great quantity of ozone, though whether or not contributes to the ozone sphere is a topic of disagreement, given the instability of the storm. So that after a thunderstorm, you that smell that you always get, that's ozone. So that's got to be just constantly like that.
Wow. Oh. Wow. Cool. Didn't know that either. The next one, gravity is not the same everywhere on Earth. This map shows the planet's gravitational field. And this kind of tripped me out how this looks.
Yep. Yeah,
so
there's a couple theories there. Our natural model of the planet is we've got like the hard outer crust, right, which goes down several kilometers, dozens of miles.
Yeah.
And then it's liquid magma. And actually, there was just a report a couple of weeks ago where the very core, the very center, may actually be a solid as well, or at least something similar to it, just because it's so compacted in there. But it turns out that probably in the early days of Earth, when the whole solar system was still forming, that larger chunk, because there was just stuff flying around all over the place, and as things clumped together, that creates more gravity, so that attracts other smaller things. And you can sort of see it in this out in the middle of the Pacific is a giant anomaly, magnetic type of gravity type of anomaly. They think like early in the Earth's formation, a big, large chunk of something came in and then kind of buried itself into the Earth, and it's denser in that area, which gives you more gravity. It's by the density of things.
Oh. Well, I definitely have heard of places in like, I want to say Peru, that had right at the equator, it has that different, what did they say? What was it? Now I'm trying to remember. There was something with the ball that they were trying to say in one side of the line swirls one way, and then when you go to the other side of the line, something else happens.
Yeah, it's called the Coriolis effect, where in the northern hemisphere of the Earth, and that's because of the spin of the Earth. That's not necessarily gravity.
Oh,
but the spin of the Earth, like if you go flush your toilet, like right now, everyone that lives in the northern hemisphere, it goes counterclockwise down the hole. Same if you poured water down in the sink or whatever. However, in the southern hemisphere, like if we have anybody from Australia, it goes clockwise when looking down on the drain, down the hole. And technically, although it's hard to measure directly on the equator, it just all falls straight down. It doesn't swirl.
Oh, okay. I knew there was something about that. Sure. I don't know. That's still a freaky picture.
Yeah, that's odd, actually.
The ocean holds 20 million tons of gold.
Yep, just suspended in the water itself.
Wow.
And that sounds like a lot, but think of how much water is all of the Earth's ocean. That's like a fifth of the planet almost. So
right.
All of that in suspension. You know, it's not like you're going to go grab a couple 5-gallon buckets and be rich by the end of the day, kind of thing. But
start sifting that stuff.
the amount of money it would take to sift it all out, it's just not economically feasible. But technically, yes, there is gold in suspension in the seawater out there.
I suppose there's probably everything out there in the sea, you know?
Probably.
Pretty much, right? Who is texting? Oh, okay, Sharon, thank you. Let's see what we got. This is what it looks like when a sunset and a solar eclipse happen at the same time.
Oh, look at that. That just looks like the end of the world is about to occur.
Oh, man. Almost looks like an eyeball, like something's looking at you.
It does kind of look like an eye.
You know, you just need that black pupil in the middle and it'd be like really scary.
Could you imagine that pupil part just starts like looking around?
Is that a boat out there too? Are those little boats out there?
Probably. That's a pretty cool photo though.
It is. It is cool. Parts of the world, sunsets, and other. Okay. The size of a comet compared to the city of Los Angeles. Ooh, dang.
We'll just send Bruce Willis up and some oil guys, and they'll take care of it.
Look at that thing. That's crazy.
Yep, comets are really big, and back, actually, not even that long ago, just like 400 or 500 years ago, they were the portent of doom. If you saw a comet in the sky, it was a big, big problem. And again, I guess we're going to go on a theme where the things that you're used to for, tens of thousands of years, humanity, once the sun went down, you had nothing else to do but to look up at the stars. It's not like there was TV or anything. So it's, build your fire to keep, the predators away, and then just stare up at the sky. And comets are so infrequent that when you would see them, and of course, back in those days, you didn't have light pollution or anything else all over. So something like that would stand out. Again, that's not what I'm used to. It can't be good. Kind of an idea.
Yeah. Huh.
Is that a plane in the upper right part of that picture?
Oh. I guess. It is a little darkness there. Okay, Sharon sent me a link. Oh, okay. It's the ocean where fresh water meets salt water, and you know how they look really different.
Yeah.
Let me get to a part where I can. I'll show that in a minute. So because there's not very many of these. The longest walkable road in the world is over 14,000 miles and stretches across Africa, Europe, and Asia. Whoa.
Wow.
Really? I almost made this too big, huh? Wrong way.
I like how the chart on there says it'll take you 4,492 hours to complete that trip.
Oh my God. To walk. Can you imagine? No way. Walking that.
That's literally going from one side of the planet to the other.
Dang. That's incredible. Right through Mongolia.
It's right through everything.
But that track from that upper track into Russia and all that, that's got to be like nothing out there.
Oh yeah, you're going through that whole thing. You're going through every biome on the planet, from deserts to thick jungles to heavy mountains to snow-covered areas.
Yeah.
You're going to see it
Even
all
over
there.
here through Europe and Sudan. I don't know. That would. I wonder if. Well, then, you think somebody has done this?
I doubt it. Why? What are you
No, I'm not
trekking
gonna
for 4,500 hours to?
Yeah. Oh shit. Every time I do that, I start myself over.
Oh, well, don't do that.
I know. Okay. Now, Earth without water. Ooh, that's a crazy photo. Oops.
Yeah,
But they
that's
took even the green out.
well, if there was no water, there's not going to be any green.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah,
ugly.
look at that shadow that South America is casting over right there. That's hundreds and hundreds of miles of just the shadow.
Wow. Huh. I never thought of it like that. For sure. Interesting. What say you guys?
I don't know. I think this might be slightly exaggerated, but I didn't think it would cause. The shadow is what caught my eye. It's like, I don't know if it would. There is a sharp drop off like that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that big.
I don't know. They say some of those abysses are like, endless holes. The average temperature of the Earth year-round is 57 degrees Fahrenheit. The average temperature of the Earth.
That's kind of misleading because it's if you're at one of the poles and it's like minus 40 outside versus 130 in the deepest part of the desert, that's your average is going to be whatever it said, 57. So that's like one of those trick. That's like a tourism kind of trick. Oh, well, the average temperature of Earth is only 57. Come and enjoy. It's like, well, it depends on where you go.
So,
That's the average.
I mean, I guess it would make more sense if they said under the crust, the temperature is 57, or everywhere, where you don't have the outside surface temperatures to play around with.
Well, that's actually what that is the ambient temperature of the coldest part of the planet to the ambient temperature of the hottest part of the planet. When you average it out, it's 57.
The most remote location on Earth is 1,677 miles away from the nearest landmass.
Look at that.
Little dot. Well, it didn't say what it was. What is it? It's just.
I know. What's the name of that place?
It's got to have a name. It's not saying.
I know I've been in some pretty remote places before. That,
here we go. Nearest land and 13 foot under the sea. Point Nemo. It's called Point Nemo. Is considered the most remote place from any human civilization on Earth. It was named after a fictional submarine sailor from Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
So is there an island there? Or is it just this is the magical point that's mathematically
know.
farthest away?
But now I'm going to look it up and I will let you know.
All right.
I'm going to try to take us to Point Nemo. Interesting.
I think probably the most remote place for me was I spent like a month and a half out at a little island called Diego Garcia, which is 7 degrees below the equator, kind of south of where India is. Just this tiny little, I was living like Gilligan out there. Just this tiny little island with an airstrip and not much else out there. And it's when the sun would go down, it was just darkness. You could actually see the difference on the horizon between where the ocean was and where the sky was, the star-filled sky.
Wow.
It was just blackness out there when it would after dark.
Mm-hmm. Well, very little pollution to see, you know.
Yeah, we watched a C-17 take off from the base, and a friend of mine and I were just catching up. We hadn't seen each other in a long time, and we were watching it for almost a full hour. It was like 50-some minutes before we lost track of the beacons on it. Mostly, probably by that time, it had gone past the curvature of the Earth where we couldn't have seen it anyway. So.
Rod Dupree says that was Rapu Nui, Easter Island. I don't think so. I didn't think so. But we're going to look it up in a minute. So, sunset on Earth are red, but sunsets on Mars are blue.
Yep.
Why?
Earth has a much thicker atmosphere. So, because like when you're looking through Earth's atmosphere, it's much thicker. We'll say it's like this thick. If you're standing here and you're looking straight up, you're only looking through this much atmosphere. However, if you're standing here and like at sunset, you're looking at 90 degrees there, you're looking through a thicker part of the atmosphere. So light actually will get bent a little bit because of all the stuff that floats around in the atmosphere will diffract it a little bit.
Yeah.
And the more it diffracts, the closer it gets to red. So the thicker your atmosphere, the more red it's going to appear. That's why you get sunsets like those golden reddish hues sometimes here on Earth. And on Mars, it's got a very thin atmosphere. So it's not getting bent as much. So it leans more towards the blue end of the spectrum for how deflected the sunlight gets. Plus, it's much further away from the sun.
That is interesting. Cool. Yeah. The red planet and color sunset. It turns out sunsets on the planet have different colors depending on the planet's atmospheres, which he just taught us. So, a model of how many Earths will fit into the sun? No way. What?
Yeah, sun's big, very big.
Oh my goodness. I'd never seen anything like that either. So
does it say how many that actually is?
Oh, let me look. The sun has a radius of 435,000 miles, and our planet has a radius of 3,950 miles. It would take more than 330,000 Earths to match the sun. Wow. Huh. Now, wouldn't that be some science project, some science fair shit right there?
Yep. Behold the power of math.
Yep. Oh, that's interesting. All of Earth's water in comparison with Earth.
Yep. Our picture that we looked at earlier with no water, that's all of it. If you were to all compress it into or it's not even compressed, it's water. You can't really compress water. So if you formed it into a sphere That's all of the ocean, all the rivers, all the lakes. That's every drop of water on the planet.
That's not that doesn't look right.
That's why I was saying that other picture. I was like, that might be a little exaggerated, that drop off there. Even like in this picture, you can sort of see it doesn't look as sharp as
Yeah.
a drop off as that other picture did.
Now it looks like way not enough water there.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. 71% of the Earth's surface is made up of water. So, yeah. The hottest spot on Earth hits 136 degrees in 1922. And then, where is it? Oh, Furnace Creek, California. Furnace Creek, California.
What's the hottest temperature you've seen, Nikki?
119. We had a day in Phoenix that was about 119, I believe. People couldn't even drive. The car tires were sticking. You walk out with your sandals, or were sticking to the asphalt. It was horrible. Yeah, it was. People were dying. It was not a good time. It wasn't great.
When you get those, I remember when I was a kid growing up in Eastern Kentucky, we had an especially hot summer one year where it was well over 100 for an extended period of time, which was unusual. And it was getting so hot that the cement roads that they had set up, like going onto bridges and stuff like that, where the cement itself was getting so hot it was expanding and filling in the little gaps between the slabs, to where once they were started touching, it starts expanding still, and it actually was exploding straight up into the air.
Wow. Yeah. It gets hot in Phoenix. It gets hot all the way through to Death Valley in Phoenix. That whole strip from Phoenix west is dangerous. It's very dangerous. We were always taught in the Southwest, we always have water in the back of the trunk, supplies, because it gets hot. Your vehicles overheat, and got to take care of that. We also don't have gas stations on every corner like in the East Coast. I was so freaking amazed when I went to the East Coast the first time. I'm like, there was a gas station every exit. I was amazed. I was like, what? In Arizona, in the Southwest, you can go 100, 200 miles without seeing a gas station.
Really?
So you've got...
I'll be driving that way later this year. It's good to know.
Gas, you have, and Mary was actually, my husband and I were traveling from LA to there to Cottonwood to Arizona. And I told him, did you fill up the tank? He goes, I'll fill up on the way. And I'm like, okay, and he stopped once. And then I had told him, well, you're going to have to pull over and gas up. And he goes, no, we have enough to get to Phoenix. And I'm like, no, you probably not. Pull over and get gas. He didn't. And yeah, we ran out of gas about 7 miles outside of Phoenix. He goes, where's the gas stations? I go, there are no gas stations out here. You have to get gas, at a quarter tank. You don't let your tank get past a quarter tank in the Southwest. You have to have it filled, because there's no gas stations. And he learned after that. Well, I think he may have ran out of gas one more time after that. But because there is no, you can't, no, unless you're in the city, but if you're traveling in between, you need to have a full tank before you hit the road. For sure. Asia covers 30% of the land on the planet and is home to 60% of the population. So that kind of goes into what we looked at, the very first one.
Yep.
4.5 billion people. Ooh, that's pretty.
Wow. That is.
What is this? The Earth is struck by lightning 100 times per second. Somewhere in the world, lightning is striking right now.
Apparently, most of it is in Venezuela.
Yeah. 1,300,000 Earths could fit inside the sun. Oh, why did they? We already kind of looked at that.
And there you see this tiny speck of Earth there compared to the size of the sun.
Yeah. Yikes. With the diameter 330, yeah, it just says the same thing from before. Route 66 is longer than the distance to the Earth's core. Wow. Kind of crazy. Growing up, in Flagstaff, Route 66 goes through. So we're on Route 66. Known as the Main Street of America. Nice. What's that? Earth once had 2 moons? What?
I'll have to read what it is they're talking about. What they're considering a moon is whatever the commentary is after the picture.
Oh,
this isn't something that happened like
recent. It's another look. Okay, it says according to the 2011 study by planetary scientist Eric Ashbaugh and postdoctoral research Martin Jutzi at the University of California, Santa Cruz, Earth used to have 2 moons. Their theory suggests a second, much smaller moon may have orbited Earth before slamming into the other lunar satellite, explaining why the 2 sides of the surviving moon are so different from each other.
And I don't know. I'm sure that's gotten a lot of arguments because, like in the picture, especially on the right, those darker areas that you see on the moon when you look up there, the theory, anyways, is those are actually why that looks so dark and different compared to the rest of the moon. Is those areas were impacted by monstrous, I guess, asteroids or clumps of asteroids that all hit at the same areas and basically turned those whole areas into giant magma fields. So then basically lava, it just got hit so hard that it just turned everything, all the rock into liquid, and then it cooled. And that's why it looks like these vast basalt, plains like that. Where when you look at the opposite side of the moon that we normally see, it doesn't have spots like, there's like one small one on the opposite side, but that's the Earth facing side of the moon is just pockmarked with these giant monstrous chunks that were taken out of it at one point, probably millions of years ago in the early solar system. Unless you believe it's a spaceship. So.
If a huge asteroid hit the moon right now and created one of these big pockmarks again, how devastating would that be to the Earth?
For something to create that big of a hole, it would again do the same thing. It would basically vaporize giant chunks of the surface of the moon. Probably, as far as Earth is concerned, the problem mostly would be after the impact, a lot of that stuff gets thrown up into, well, there is no air, but it gets ejected away from the moon, and the moon's gravity is pretty weak. It's only about 1/6 that of Earth. So for rocks to hit escape velocity from the moon is pretty high. So now you've got molten chunks of rock flying out into space where the next nearest gravitational source would be us. So you'd have these, mountain-sized chunks of rock falling down across the Earth. That would be, I think, the biggest problem there.
Nope. Yeah, nope. Sorry I asked.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a waterfall in Antarctica that runs red.
Yes, it does.
Look at that.
Doesn't that just look creepy? That's like a horror movie kind of a thing.
Yeah. Look at that. That's crazy looking. And it says, known as Blood Falls, this waterfall runs red due to the high concentration of iron in it, in the water. When the iron-rich water oxidizes at the surface, it becomes blood red, depositing rusty stains on the ice as it falls. Ew.
Look at that. The Earth is bleeding.
It's bleeding. That's crazy. Only 29% of the Earth's surface is covered by land. The rest is covered by water. I keep going back to that.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. The Earth's core is as hot as the surface of the sun.
That's about right.
The Earth isn't a perfect sphere.
That's correct. It is technically an oblate spheroid, meaning as you're looking at it, the equator is fatter than if you were to go from pole to pole. So it's much like my own physique right now, much wider around the middle.
Okay.
And that also is part because of the spin where it kind of bows out just a tiny bit. It's not much. It's a series of miles. It's not a lot.
Right.
Actually, they list the numbers right there.
Oh, yeah, they do.
The diameter at the poles is about 7,900 miles and 7,926 miles at the equator. So 26 miles difference.
Interesting. 48.5 tons of meteoritic materials. Materials falls on Earth each day.
And most of that is basically dust. Like during, because we periodically go through meteor showers, which what that is from earlier where we were talking about comets.
Yeah.
That a comet leaves a big trail just dumping crap as it goes. Basically, it's melting, and there's little rocks and pebbles and stuff like that inside of there. So most of what you see during a meteor shower, which that's what this is a picture of, is a this is a time lapse of meteors burning up in the atmosphere, are like grain of sand to maybe a tenth of an inch at most.
Yeah. The fire on Earth versus microgravity.
Yep.
Oh, that's crazy looking, actually.
Because that's one of the things about like up on the International Space Station is fire is a big deal because it stays as this basically a sphere shape. And it just grows and grows and grows and grows. It's not like like on Earth where like you might smell some smoking first, and there's smoke up by the ceiling and stuff like that. You have to do the hands and knees crawl to get out so you're not overcome by the fumes. You don't have that option in space in a zero gravity environment.
Wow. Soot free and blue.
Yep. As a matter of fact, like on the International Space Station and the Space Shuttle and all that, where the sleeping areas have a bunch of fans that circulate the air around. Because in a zero G environment, if you're just sitting there asleep and and there wasn't that stirring of the air, you breathe in oxygen, but you exhale carbon dioxide. Over a long period of time, you breathing out just carbon dioxide, which doesn't do you any good to rebreathe it in, you would actually die of hypoxia because of the.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Dang.
Because it's if there's no air stir, if there's no like draft, no fans blowing the air around to get it to mix all up with all the rest of the air in the open cabin area, it's just going to sit right there. It's not going to go. So you're rebreathing in your own exhaust really at that point after a fashion.
Wow. Crazy. Earth's atmosphere constantly shines. Dirty. That's probably just dirt.
That's basically, yes. That's exactly. This is actually a pretty poorly worded phrase to describe it. And that's basically what it is. It's bouncing off, dust that's floating around in the air. That's how you're able to. That's what this picture is. That's how you're able to see that.
Yeah. Australia's tectonic plates are drifting so quickly it requires updates to GPS systems regularly.
Yep.
Huh.
Because our tectonic plates, because as we mentioned before, the inner, even the outer core of the Earth is a liquid. It's magma. It's what you see coming out of the volcano, kind of a thing. And our tectonic plates are just kind of floating on top of that. And the tectonic plates, that's what causes earthquakes, is those plates moving. You've got lateral movement, you got one will ride on top of the other, and then the ones that go butt together each other, and that's where you get like mountains, mountain chains and stuff like that, is where they rub up against each other. And some are moving this direction, some are moving that direction, and stuff like that. So
well, I know the earth moves. I lived in LA and I felt the earthquakes there all the time. I was ended up being super sensitive to that. My equilibrium would totally go off and I would just get sick to my stomach. And it never failed. There was an earthquake. And I lived through one that took down my kitchen cabinet. I had a big kitchen cabinet up above my bed. What do you call it? My breakfast bar, and that whole thing just went down. It's scary that they happen all the time in LA. All the time. You're little ones, the 2.0s to the 3s, where you kind of feel something, but it's not a big deal. And they're constant over there.
It's been a few years for us here in Kansas and Oklahoma, but several years ago, they were doing fracking in Oklahoma, and their geologist said, well, there's this ancient fault line in this particular area, but it's totally inactive. It's fine. Go ahead and do what you need to do. It didn't remain that way after they pumped oil out of there. And what they do is, because they use water, it smashes into the rocks and it breaks up the oil that's stuck in the rocks, and then they separate the oil and the water later. And when they're done with the well, they take all that water, which is now like wastewater because it still has some oil in it, and they just put that back into the ground to kind of balance it. But there's different densities between all oil and oily water. So this fault line, because I'm hundreds of miles away from where they do the actual stuff like that on that old fault line, and I think the strongest we had a 5.0 here in Wichita. That and a lot of like those old 1800s type buildings and stuff like that for hundreds of miles around there, all of them got their foundations wrecked and everything like that, because we don't get that kind of stuff here. So
right. Yeah, a lot of the buildings in LA are built to withstand some of that constant barrage of the earth moving. But if you don't have them, then you're not built for that. They don't build like that. So interesting. It says here that Australia will collide with Southeast Asia in 50 million years. Will eventually collide.
That'll be a big day to celebrate. I'll have to put that on my calendar to have a big party.
Though, but in 50 million years, they'll probably end up floating Australia in the air or something. I don't know. Technology will help them out. 4.5 million years ago, the average temperature on Earth was around 176 degrees.
Well, 4.5 billion years ago, it was mostly magma. There was no water or plants or anything at that point. It was basically, that's about when it was formed, the whole Earth. So it was just what we were talking about earlier. Those smaller parts, as they clump together, form more gravity, which attracts more parts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's the same. We can see about 2,500 stars with the naked eye.
Yep. And that picture there is looking towards the middle of our own Milky Way galaxy. That's what it looks like from here. And there's actually our little Milky Way galaxy I have here behind me. We're like kind of in the middle. We're off on one of the little spurs coming off of one of the main lines back in here. And there's actually like big pockets of just like gas and stuff like that actually block, because you can see it right here in this picture, how there's like those darker bands, and then there's stars between those darker bands and us, what we see in the middle of all of that. So we don't really see its like full intensity, mostly because of that, because we're on like the edge of the record player, looking on edge, towards the middle of it kind of thing.
It's so cool. Just like I always loved looking at pictures of what did they call it? The Horsehead Nebula.
Yep.
And, they always show it real vibrant colors and stuff like that. But in actuality, it isn't, correct? It's not like all those type of colors. It's just a bunch of layering or a bunch of different pictures.
It is. That's one of the downsides that people get super disappointed with, and they go out and buy themselves a telescope and they think it's going to look like that. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It's just gray. Like if you were outside, if you were someplace out in the dark and you looked up and saw the Milky Way, it would look like kind of wispy clouds. Now you go really far out in the dark, where they're like out in the ocean, kind of dark, there's a few places out there that you can actually see the structure to the Milky Way. You can pick out the details of, the cloud kind of appearance of it, but you got to go way out to see that nowadays. And even then it just looks like high wispy clouds.
Coral reefs are the largest living structures on Earth. Now, is the Great Barrier Reef still dying?
I don't know. I haven't heard any updates on that in a while. There were giant chunks of it that were getting bleached out.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, all coral reefs go through periods of growth and periods of die-off like that. But the Great Barrier Reef is really big, and it's alarming when that kind of stuff dies, because there's a lot of smaller sea life that uses the coral reef as food and shelter from bigger things and stuff like that. So those kind of things dying off it affects the whole food chain. If you're taking the bottommost part of the food chain out, the next part can't live there, which means the bigger fish can't feed on that, which means so on and so on. So that's a problem.
Right. In 250 million years, all continents will come together as a supercontinent.
Pangea Ultima.
Wow.
Because at one point, it was all just called Pangea millions and millions of years ago, where it was the same thing. Because you can look at the Earth and see how like South America slots into
Fit.
Africa right there. And,
Yeah.
the same thing with like Europe and the U.S. How they were all together at one point.
Yeah.
They grow apart, and again, those tectonic plates just kind of floating around. Some of them, going under each other and on top of each other, and side by side, all that stuff. So yeah, that's what it does.
Right. The lowest temperature recorded on Earth was negative 128.6. That's cold.
I would have guessed it would have been lower because I've been up to Alaska many times and seen minus 40 before. Quite a bit.
Huh. This says in 1983. The Antarctica.
Yep.
128, negative 128. But you're right. I have heard of even colder than that. Natural gas field in Turkmenistan has been burning for decades.
Yeesh.
Gravity on Earth is not uniform.
Yep. Talked about that.
Yep. Earth is the only planet known to have liquid water on its surface.
Mostly true. The recent stuff on Mars has revealed that there is water like just below the surface, and you see where cliffs and stuff are, where it kind of seeps out and kind of runs down the hill just a little bit and then freezes. Plus, you can tell just by looking at Mars, it used to have a lot of water. There were actual seas, shallow seas on Mars itself, but you can see old riverbeds and things like that on Mars. So it used to have a fair amount of water.
Earth is currently known as the planet to have consistent bodies of liquid water on its surface. Earth rising above the lunar horizon, seen from Apollo 8 in 1968.
Yeah, famous picture.
But that was all done in the studio, right?
That's right.
Astronaut Catherine Sullivan is the only person in history to have visited both space and the deepest place on Earth, the Mariana Trench.
Also similar when Apollo 11 went to the moon, the first, Neil Armstrong and those guys. Because there were three guys, and there's one guy that stays with the module, then two guys go down to the planet. That one last guy that stayed in there when the orbiter would go around to the dark side of the moon, the opposite of that, was the farthest human being has ever been away from the planet. Kind of an idea.
Earth spins through space at just over 1,000 miles per hour.
Because it's important to remember that, yes, the Earth orbits the sun, but as we can see here, our galaxy picture here, the sun is also orbiting around the center of the galaxy. The galaxy itself is also moving through space. So that's one of those problems with time travel shows and movies like that. It's like, we're going to go back in time 6 months. Well, the Earth's on the opposite side of the sun in 6 months from now. So you're just going to pop up in deep space.
And this was the picture that Sharon had sent about where fresh water meets salt water. How different it looks.
Yep.
I actually was on a glass bottom boat at the end of Cabo San Lucas, in the Gulf of Mexico, and out at the point they have, that famous archway, and you can actually see the different heights It's so weird. The height from the Gulf of Mexico to the height of the Pacific, it was different. It was really wild. Really wild.
We live on an amazing planet.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But this is all really, I find it interesting. I mean, that we have such crazy variety of stuff that, you know, we don't learn. We don't learn this stuff unless you go find it out yourself or come across something like this. And a lot of people had information about things as I was looking. A lot of you smarties there in the comments had little facts about everything, and I appreciate that. Uncle Bones has done a lot. He says he's been in a negative 72 in a Yukon, negative 65 in Alaska.
Yeah, that's depending on where you are. Like I was up near the Fairbanks area, which it just happens that I've seen minus 40, and it was probably colder a couple of times, but not by much. And where that particular area is, the center part of Alaska, there's almost no wind, to the point where they actually have what they refer to as ice fog. Like if you stop at a red light and you're just sitting there, you can see the exhaust coming out of your car. There's so little wind, so little air moving, that it forms little fog banks at each red light that just grows and grows and grows. So all their red lights are really short wait times, because so it doesn't build up where you can't see.
Oh my goodness.
It's one of those wacky places where you like take your steaming hot cup of coffee and throw it up in the air, and it just most of it turns into steam and just sits there, and you might get little frozen globules that hit the ground.
That's cool. This was a really interesting little stream about the Earth that I did. I learned some stuff I hadn't heard before, and some of those pictures were really awesome. I don't know if they were touched up a little bit here and there, but still,
those lightning pictures were pretty cool.
Yeah, that was definitely cool. What do you got coming up? Anything coming up for you? You gonna be on any interesting
I had to remind someone yesterday that had a big shindig online for last St. Patrick's Day. It's like, hey, you guys doing anything next week? It's like, oh my God, I forgot. So maybe something on next Friday. So
maybe
we'll see.
Yeah. So we'll be having my show on Sunday, the Luck of the Squatch. And I'm going to be having a special guest. Derek McManus is going to be on the show, guys. Derek has agreed to come on and celebrate St. Paddy's Day from Ireland. So he's going to be here, and we're going to talk about the Irish Sasquatch and some other things. So I hope everybody, you come and celebrate early St. Patrick's Day with us for sure. And thanks everybody for coming this morning. Appreciate y'all. Had a good time. Did a little chit-chatty. And please hit that like button before you leave for me. Make a comment. Share it around if you like my content. Really, I appreciate y'all out there. And don't ever forget it. But until next time, we shall see you in the next chat. See you on Sunday. Love you guys. Bye-bye.